this topic. I do. I'm gonna cover 3 books in this video that I read revolving around the topic of sex, but not in the way that you naughty people are thinking about it. So one of them I don't have on me, but the other 2 I do, and it's mostly gonna, it's mostly gonna cover different parts of this topic, which is why I wanted to speak about it. So I'll go into the first one that I read, which was She Comes First by 𝙂𝙀𝙀𝙀. So I loved this fucking book, and reading it gave me, like, I was like, even though it's all about the science behind it, it's literally about how to please a woman scientifically, what gets a reaction, what feels good for a woman. And this was, I started to read it, well, I read it at the time of when I was dating several men, and this book turned me on more than them. I wish I was joking, I'm not. So this was just such a good read, and it was so accurate to the point where, like, I was reading this and I was feeling something, and I was like, I'm reading science and it's making me feel some type of way. But I love the way it was written as well. I think it's a beautiful cover, and he has another one called He Comes Next, and I really want that, but I cannot find it anywhere. So if anyone in the UK knows how to get a hold of that book, please give it to me. I would love to read it because I just really love his writing. But I highly recommend this. I think it's a brilliant book that every woman should read, and also a book every man should read. I think women in general need to read it because they need to try things that they haven't tried that might make them feel amazing, and then men just need to read it for obvious fucking reasons. Next, the other book that I read was called Book of Desire. Now this was a completely opposite side of this topic, which was, it's my Indian best friend, her book. It's by an Indian author. So it's about Indian poems that have been translated, and they're about lust and love and sex. And it's, a lot of it is from the perspective of, you know, heartbreak and how sex comes into that, and it is poetry, and it's the only poetry book I've read in years, and I don't want to go near another poetry book because it gives me PTSD to when I was like 16. But it was such a good book. It was beautiful, it was easy to read, and it's so interesting, like, seeing, I think, like, that to me is like what the real female rage is like heartbreak and lust and love mixed in one, instead of like fucking killing someone. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the real female rage is like this complexity of emotions and how that comes into sex and stuff. So really loved that, really interesting, definitely recommend. The final book that I want to talk about is Sex at Dawn by Christopher Ryan and 𝙃𝙀𝙀𝙀. So this again is almost a scientific way of seeing it, but not quite. So this is more so about where we came from. Did we come from monkeys? What are they like compared to us? And that kind of topic. And it was a long read, but I enjoyed it. And what I loved about this book, I think this was my favourite out of all of them. I don't know, that's quite a harsh thing to say. I don't know, maybe that's not true. I did love She Comes First. Is that a lot of us go through things with life that we don't even realise in the moment is linked to sex. But then he talks to people, like, it's really interesting because he talks to people that he knows who have cheated on, like, their wives, and they burst out into tears and they explain the thought process behind that. And I just think shit like that is interesting. I think people like that are fucking dickhead cunts, but I also like the psychology behind it, you know, looking into that. And learning, like, how alike we are to monkeys and stuff is so fun. And how what I liked about this is sometimes I didn't know where it was gonna go, and there were moments where I'm like, this is written by a man. It's written by a man, I've got to remember that. And then I thought he was gonna go one way, but then he went the other way. So, like, you know, he'll take the piss out of cheaters and be like, you know, you fucking ended up here, but he'll explain the science behind it first, so you're almost like, is he defending them? And then at the end he's like, fuck you, and it's like, okay, brilliant. So like this guy, the way that they've both written this is so clever, and I absolutely loved it, and I highly recommend it. I do have a bunch more that I am going to read at some point, all on my TBR, which is way too long, but I love the scientific and emotional aspect of talking about this taboo subject, and I don't think it should be taboo, but it is, rather than just reading smut, which I also do, so, you know, not that I'm judging, but I love you guys so much. I highly recommend picking these up, and I hope to see you in my next video.